Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Let's go to our next question for today. Brother asked, can you please talk about who is Mahalaleel and what are some of the descriptions about Mahalaleel in Abrahamic traditions or in Bible or Quran? What do we know about him? Well, Mahalaleel is one of the personalities that is considered to be a patriarch, means among those people who are considered to be father of the human race. And he is a personality who is from a pre-flood period. That means he before Nuh alayhi salam. He's mentioned as one of the Adam alayhi salam's descendants, not his children, but very close in lineage. However, this is more or less a biblical narration. His reference in Islamic tradition is through the biblical narrations. There is no mention of him in the books of Hadith or the Quran. His life and role vary in significance, Islamic and Christian. If you're looking from the Islamic perspective, Mahalaleel is part of the lineage leading to Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and by extension to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. And he is one of the early patriarchs considered righteous and God-fearing. Quranic genealogies don't mention him by name, but Islamic scholars include him based on the Judeo-Christian sources. And Mahalaleel is believed to have been a preacher of monotheism, continuing the teachings of Adam and Seth, who is Shish alayhi. And he is said to have called people to worship Allah and maintain their purity from idol worshipping. As far as his role is concerned, so Islamic scholars, following the traditions of earlier scriptures, suggest that he lived a long life. Though specific details of his age are taken from Bible. While little details exist about his personal life in Islamic texts, he is seen as part of the righteous lineage. If you look into the biblical traditions, Mahalaleel, especially in Jewish tradition, Mahalaleel appears in the book of Genesis, in chapter number 5, verses 12 through 17. And in the book of Chronicles, he's listed as the son of Canaan and father of Jared, making him the great-grandfather of Enoch, Idris alayhi salam. And according to Genesis, Mahalaleel lived 895 years and he had children, including Jared, at the age of 65. And as part of one of those patriarchs who lived before the flood period, Mahalaleel symbolizes a time when humanity was closer to God and had an inherent connection to righteousness. If you look at the Midrashic interpretation, which is a Jewish Midrash, which often uses patriarchs like Mahalaleel as examples of faithfulness before the corruption leading to the flood. And what does this name Mahalaleel actually means? According to the Jewish traditions, this means praise of God, and that reflects his pious character and role in spreading gratitude towards the Creator. And when you look at the Christian texts, he's listed in the genealogy of Jesus as recorded in the Gospel of Luke, chapter number 3, verse number 37, emphasizing the continuity of righteous line from Adam to Jesus. And Christians interpreters view Mahalaleel as a figure symbolizing humanity's initial closeness to God before the fall worsened. His place in the genealogy ties the Old Testament narrative to the New Testament fulfillment in Christ. And like Judaism, Christianity acknowledges the age and longevity of Mahalalel as described in Genesis. So the name Mahalalel, which means praise of God, or the blessed God in Hebrew, this emphasizes the tradition that Mahalalel was deeply connected to God in his faith and deed. And in the book of Jubilees, a Jewish text which is considered as a non-canonical by most traditions, mention Mahalalel and suggest he contributed to establishing sacred laws and traditions for his descendants. There are no detailed stories or narratives about Mahalalel or Mahalaleel in the Quran, Hadith, or Bible beyond his mention in genealogical list. His role is primarily genealogical, linking Adam to Noah in Islamic, Jewish, and Christian traditions. So Bible briefly mentions him, as I told you, in Genesis and Chronicles. If you open Genesis, it states, when Canaan had lived 70 years, he became the father of Mahalaleel. After he became the father of Mahalaleel, Canaan lived 840 years and had other sons and daughters. Although Canaan lived a total of 910 years and then he died, when Mahalaleel had lived 65 years, he became the father of Jared. After he became the father of Jared, Mahalaleel lived 830 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Mahalalel lived a total of 895 years and then he died. And when you look at Chronicles, it says Adam, Seth, Enosh, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, and the list goes on. These passages indicate his place in the line from Adam to Noah, but they do not provide details about his life or deeds. So Mahalalel, as I told you, is not directly mentioned in the Quran or Hadith. However, Islamic scholars acknowledge him as part of the genealogy leading to Nuh alayhi salam, and this genealogy is referenced indirectly in Surah As-Saffat and some of the other Quranic passages. For example, in Surah As-Saffat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "And Noah had certainly called us, and we are the best of responders. And we saved him and his family from the great affliction, and we made his descendants those who remained on the..." And of course, Mahalalel being mentioned in the Islamic tradition as the forefathers of Noah. So when it says, when the descendants of Noah lived on earth, that automatically, indirectly includes Mahalalel. So Islamic traditions relying on earlier Judeo-Christian sources describe Mahalalel as a preacher of monotheism, continuing the teachings of Adam and Shith alayhi salam. If you look at the extra-biblical texts, such as the Book of Jubilees, it provides some narrative elements about Mahalalel, and these are not recognized as canonical by most Jewish or Christian tradition. For example, in the Book of Jubilees, chapter 4, verses 14 through 15, it mentions that Mahalalel instructed his children in the ways of righteousness and monotheism following the tradition of Adam and Seth. He warned against the idolatry that was beginning to spread during his time. However, these details are not mentioned in the Quran or Hadith or in the canonical biblical texts. And if you look at the Jewish Midrashic interpretation, Mahalalel name, which means praise of God, symbolizes his devotion to God. And some Jewish commentators suggest he served as an example of piety before humanity began increasingly corrupt and leading to the flood. And Christian theologians highlight Mahalalel's role in the genealogy of Jesus, as I mentioned in the book of Luke. So what is all of this in short? No detailed stories or specific events about Mahalalel's life are preserved in the Quran or Hadith or Bible. His significance lies in his role as a patriarch and his connection to the lineage of prophets. Most narratives about him are derived from extra-biblical texts such as the Book of Jubilees, or are inferred symbolically from his genealogical placement. Till next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.